Welcome, leaders, teams, and those ready to take charge of their energy. It's Kelly Buboltz, your guide in workforce energy management. Burnout is not just a buzzword, it's a symptom of deeper root cause stressors. We're here to stop waiting for the change and start leading it. It's time to reclaim our energy and lead our days with intention and purpose. Accountability without micromanaging. Two energy suckers, right? When you have lack of accountability and when you have someone micromanaging, the team's not really performing. Maybe just one person carrying it all, and that can be exhausting. So when we rebalance team dynamics during workforce energy management programs, these two topics come up quite often, and they also come up in reoccurring discussions during the leadership mastermind groups. So let's dig into it. Why is this an energy leak? Because you're over-controlling, which makes someone else under-responsible. And at work, micromanaging can look like just going through a task after task after task, never really giving creative autonomy or ideas to the team, letting them really fly with it and run with it. And that drains their energy as well. And at home, it can look like carrying the load, carrying everything at home, carrying the schedules, always knowing what to do next, and no one else has to participate. Do you see where some of that resentment and energy drain starts to escalate? So we're going to go through 4 ways that you can start to address this accountability, make the shift back to energizers, and move away from this micromanaging that's feeding that lack of accountability. So the first one that we're going to talk about is clear expectations and boundaries. We have other videos out on YouTube discussing how to go through those specifically, but I want to talk about this just for a moment as it pertains to this webinar because they go hand in hand. Let's say that you're going bowling for the first time. Do you just have an open lane? Or say you're bowling with your kids. Do you just have an open lane? No, you probably put the bumpers up until you figure out how to throw the ball. Now, when you start to realize when you throw the ball way too hard, it goes to the right or the left, or it bounces, or it never even makes it down to the pins, you start to navigate how to do the task. Do you see where the experience and the growth is happening? Once you get better at bowling, you lower the bumpers. And sure, you might end up in the gutter here and there, but for the most part, you have a pretty good game. Now, the end goal is not to have the guides. That's the end goal of bowling. But you have to take some steps to get there, to get the bumpers down. So let me ask you this question to begin that mind shift away from micromanagement is, what's the deliverable? Sometimes we're over-controlling and we're micromanaging because we don't even know what the outcome is. Or we might know the outcome, but we don't know what success actually looks like. So once you know what the outcome is, you know what success looks like and can communicate that out to people. Do you see where the autonomy shift starts to happen? If people have clear expectations, clear boundaries of where they can go, can't go, what they can spend, can't spend, the timelines, now you can back away. You don't have to micromanage a situation because they have the information and details to make it a success. And at home, it might just be having a more clear conversation. Who owns what? I remember that sometimes birthday parties would come up for the kids to go to their friends for their birthday, and it would end up on the calendar. Okay, there's the information, but we haven't done any of the actions, the activities. So who owns that? So we had to get really clear as if someone is going to commit to this activity that we have to run around from, get presents, things like that, that if you're going to commit to it, you own it all the way through, or however you want to navigate that within your household. But we had to get more clear on who is going to do what. Similar with chores. My kids are little, but they're getting to an age where they can sling around a dish without breaking it. So when we empty the dishwasher, you had to learn how to empty a dishwasher. Where do things go in the kitchen? What do you do when things are wet? Those little micro learning moments. And then they learned how to empty the dishwasher. Guess what? Kelly's workload at home just went down. So when there's room for this learning, which we'll get to in a moment, you can start to have these conversations. You can have those learning moments where you have to reroute, create more clarity. When do we not empty the dishwasher, right? When do we empty the dishwasher? And And what does done look like? So say you have some dishes drying. Okay, well, make it look like they're drying. Otherwise, it looks like the task just isn't done. Stress starts to go, I'll just do it myself. Do you feel that kind of load end up right back on you? And that's why you micromanage. So have the conversations at home. What does done look like? Does the outcome look like? Who owns what? At work, let's talk about that a little bit more, about who owns what. Role clarity across the board. If I talk to this department and they describe the role, and then I go over here and talk to this department and ask that same question about those last department people, you're going to get two different answers, which means we don't have a lot of role clarity. So when we are working on workforce energy management programs, we're also cleaning up operations such as role clarity so that everyone knows who owns what and what done looks like. And some of that energy drain, such as ineffective pass-offs, pointing fingers, and miscommunication naturally goes away. Now let's talk about number 2. So the first one was clear expectations and boundaries. That is a behavioral growth curve that you're going to go through, and why programs are multiple sessions, because we have to talk through some of the hangups that are going to come up as you navigate that type of behavior change. The second one is building trust through check-ins, not checkups. That's micromanaging. So there's a difference. Check-ins are predictable. Let's meet every week. Let's do check-ins in the system. Let's meet on our one-on-one, and every time, let's see the progress on this project. Check-ins. It's predictable. We know we're going in with a status update. We can talk about things. It's not as scary, right? Check-up means someone's hovering over your shoulder. They're constantly popping in. They're throwing you under the bus in the meeting because something isn't done, even though it's not even due yet, right? Checkups brings a lot of negative narrative, a lot of negative energy into the team. So you want to work on check-ins. And how we're going to do that is actually understanding people's work styles. So in DISC, I'm going to go through the 4 ways that you can build trust with the specific work styles. So let's go through the 4. D is dominance, our reds. And they're very fast paced. So they want efficiency. They want autonomy to do it their way. I mean, they're going to be on board with the team and the same outcome, but they need that freedom to fly. And then they want confidence from the person who's giving the tasks that they can do the job, that their skills are meeting the challenge. I's are our influence. They're our yellows. And really what they're looking for is recognition that they're bringing value. These are your people pleasers. There's a lot of people pleasers in the influence work style category. So they want to make sure that they're providing that value to the team. They want that connection to know that not only that they're doing something, but they're helping the team out in being successful. And then that open dialogue, they want a voice. So think about this. When you have lack of accountability, when you're micromanaging, you're draining that type of energy. S is our supportives. Those are our green type of work styles. And they are looking for predictability. So if you own everything, you're micromanaging the situation, they are getting information, but they also can't predict things because you're withholding, you're gatekeeping information and details. So when you can empower them to take hold of things, they get that predictability back. And they want to be supportive, but if you hold them back, they're not able to do that. And they want to be seen as dependable. Similar to I's, they want to provide value. So if you are going to dictate every step of the way how things are done, they're not able to really hone in on that natural skill set that they have of being dependable. Because S's are definitely known for they say what they do and they do what they say. So make sure that you are highlighting that natural skill set that they have. And then C's, our compliance, our blues, they want clarity, right? So they need ability to dig into the details a little bit more that maybe you're not giving them. They want accuracy, which maybe you have a task and you know things are getting done, but they're not seeing that type of information. They're not seeing the progress updates. They're not super involved because you're micromanaging. So they're not getting that accuracy feed of energy that they need. And the last part of C's, which is super important, is their thought process is going to be very different. These are the people that are going to see the gaps in your processes and your systems and the initiatives. And that takes a little bit more time. So you can already see with project leaders or someone leading an initiative that might be a little more fast paced, that they're going to be pushing these people through and micromanaging the situation, and they just need a moment. It's not that they're slow paced. It's not that they're providing value, but they're evaluating way more than you think on the initiative. They're thinking about long-term effects. They're thinking about how does it affect the customers, right? All this value add type of work that you want in your team. And if you push them too fast, they're unable to go through that thought process. So knowing who you're working with on your project, on your team, in your organization, as you're navigating accountability, as you're moving away from micromanaging, is going to be important because each one needs something just a little bit different. If you don't have a DISC in your organization yet, please contact me and we can see what does that look like in your organization. So the third one we're going to go through, we went through clear expectations and boundaries, building trust through check-ins, not check-ups. Third is leveraging tools. How many times do you have people just pop by, check in, check up, right? This is where the hovering happens. How many times do you have someone just like ping and ponging in your chat and you're like, we're meeting in like 2 hours. Can't you wait? Energy drain, right? These are where all the little leaks of energy start. So we're going to leverage tools, calendars. We're going to leverage systems. We're going to leverage dashboards. And this is going to feed the information in between. Because when you think about it, when people start micromanaging situations, when people feel like someone's not being held accountable, it's because they're assuming something isn't being done. So say we have a big project and we only meet every 2 weeks. In between those 2 weeks, your brain is filling in the blanks. Is Kelly doing her part? Is Kelly even working on it? I saw her talking in the lunchroom for like 15 minutes. She's not even working on it, right? Your brain's developing this whole story of assumptions against reality, what's actually happening. So you can decrease this by using your systems, your dashboards, good real-time consistent communication to start to reduce those assumptions. And people get a little less micromanaging when they know that there's still progress happening in between those check-ins. So that's number 3, is leveraging the tools so that we can all just calm down a little bit. The fourth one and the final is know the difference between urgency and growth. And here's what I'm talking about. Micromanaging happens when you think it's urgent, right? It needs to be done now. And other people who are on the team or within your household are like, it's not that important. It's not that urgent. We don't need to do it right now. So then you take over more, right? You get more over controlling. And knowing the difference between that urgency and when you have time is important. There's a whole model that we go through in leadership training to really get good at identifying urgency versus time for growth. Because when you can really identify what needs to be done now and what is all learning moments, gaining that experience, a whole weight comes off of you and your back from trying to do it all. So urgency is emergencies, high risk situations. It's a decision that will make or break the company, the initiative, the activity at home. And so this would be like that winning shot for the bowling tournament, right? You're not going to have someone who's only practiced with the bumpers up to make the winning shot of your bowling tournament. You're going to have someone who's bowled a long time and who's very good, right? So emergency, high-risk situations, urgency, right? You need to micromanage it a little bit. You need to make sure it's done right. Know what events are in that category. Everything else has time. Let me repeat that because this is a long learning curve when I go through this with a leader. Everything else has time. Growth happens through experience. So when you can identify urgency and growth, you actually create more experience in your team, more experience in your household so you can carry less. Growth is manageable risk. Right? There's small little checkpoints that we can pivot if things are going wrong, that there's enough boundaries again that have been clarified that you can let them play for a little while, see what they'll do, see what they come with it, see where their skill set really comes into strength, and you manage it. If it gets derailed, you get them back on course. If it's going well, obviously you recognize the great behavior and skills that they're putting towards it. So managing that risk. And basically how I like to put it is if it's not an emergency, like the place is on fire or you're going to close the company, if it's not high risk, that you're going to completely damage the customer relationship, the product, the quality, then there's time, right? We need to give people time. If, excuse me, if you go back in time and look at how you got here, right? How you got to be so good at something, it came from experience. It came from navigating between the bumpers to say, good, not good, good, not good, good, not good. And you got here. You know what to do. You know what doesn't work. You know who to talk to. And that comes from experience. So let's allow people to grow and back away from that micromanaging. And guess what? When you can back away and you get really good at that skill set, that's how other people become accountable. Because if me and you are working together and you want to hold me accountable, but you're micromanaging everything, why would I step up to the plate, right? This is that balance where if you're going to continually to be over responsible, over controlling, micromanage a situation, it makes me under responsible, lack of accountability. So when you can get away from micromanaging to more of that coach mode, back up, let them fly a little bit, test out those bumpers, I become more responsible for my actions, for my due dates, for my deliverables. So that's number 4. Now we have a great question in the comments. It says, what should we be looking for in micromanaging? What should we be looking for in micromanaging? So micromanaging, I would say, comes in micro words. Just from working with micromanaging leaders, they don't think that they're micromanaging. They think that they're helping. And there's a difference between helping because someone actually needs it. They don't know what to do. They're not trained on it. They don't know what resources are available. So that's more of like they're new to it. And then there's helping, which is micromanaging. So you're trying to be the hero. You're trying to put a temporary fix so it moves faster or in your way. And that's an energy drainer. So that's micromanaging. And I think the most frequent thing I see is it comes through micro words. Things like, you should. What about? Have you tried? Have you talked to? Do you see that I literally put you on a path that I want it my way? I want it done in the way that I would do it. These are all micromanaging type of tasks. So think small like that, and you'll start to see it come up in your language. And the reason why I bring that up is in the leadership mastermind, we'll call each other out when that language starts coming out of people's mouths so that we can start grooming our language differently. Because if you truly want to step away from micromanaging, over controlling, carrying it all, you have to start with the language that you're using. Because the moment I use that language, I took responsibility of that action. I carry the load now. We just passed that heavy backpack right back on me. So if you want to hold people accountable, if you don't want to micromanage, you have to start with some of the micro language that you're using. So I hope you enjoyed this month's topic as much as I did. There's a lot of growth in this. This is a huge, deep root cause of dysfunction in operations. When you think about missed due dates, communication problems, when you think about distrust across teams, poor workflows, when you get down deep, accountability comes up quite a bit. And this micromanaging, that one person knows a lot of information, doing a lot of tasks, and the rest of the team is being underperformers, not because they don't want to work, not because they don't bring value, but because they've been set up in the system that you've created. So when you can move to accountability, when you can move away from micromanaging, you start to not only enhance the energy, but also the productivity across your team. Today's step matters. It's in the micro moments that real change begins. Managing your energy isn't about shame, blame, or disrupting your lifestyle. It's about the small, intentional choices to reclaim that natural energy. If this episode hit the mark for you, share with others. This journey doesn't have to be lost and lonely, but exciting and full of new paths. See you back here to continue the adventure.